Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Pan Future Society podcast. I am your host, Sean, and today is Saturday, May 13th, 2017. Tomorrow is Mother's Day in the United States. If you need a quick reminder to run out and get some flowers quickly or something like that, in any case, call your mother. She always likes it when you call. And that's all I got for the rambling, mindless chatter at the beginning. So let's get right to the news of the moment. The first item of news this week in Shanghai, China. The Sunqiao Urban Agricultural District. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Sunqiao. Sunqiao, I think. From their website here, Shanghai is home to nearly 24 million people, but over the last 2 decades, China has lost over 123,000 square kilometers of farmland to urbanization, a land area equivalent to nearly the entire state of Iowa. Of the arable land that remains, it is estimated by China's own Ministry of Environmental Protection that 1/6 of this land, roughly 200,000 square kilometers, suffers from soil pollution. So China is running out of places to farm and grow food to feed all these people, especially the 24 million in Shanghai. So they are building a vertical farm district, an entire district devoted to vertical farming. Construction is expected to start this year, and it will be located between Shanghai's main international airport and its city center. They also go on to say that given that 56% of vegetables consumed in the Hainanese diet consist of leafy greens like spinach, kale, bok choy, watercress, and others, vertical farming is an ideal solution for food production. I will link to their website for this development project. They've got some great concept art here. It's probably going to look something like, what any maybe factory type district would be, except it's for farming and it kind of looks like a park at the same time. So from the looks of it, it would be not only function as a practical thing, but people will also just go walk around it and enjoy the fresh air and whatnot as you might in a park. So that's pretty cool. The Sunqiao Urban Agricultural District being built soon in Shanghai, China. Refer back a few shows for an episode about vertical farming. If you thought vertical farming might not be practical, well, when you've got the resources that a country like China has, you can make it practical no matter what. And now,
it came from outer space.
2 quick items this week for space news. At the International Space Station, Expedition 51 Commander Peggy Whitson and Flight Engineer Jack Fisher concluded a spacewalk this week, which lasted just over 4 hours, but perhaps more significantly was the 200th spacewalk run from the International Space Station. And these 200 spacewalks have totaled almost 1,300 hours of time working outside the station. So it's quite a remarkable achievement, and I don't ever want to say that space is easy, because I don't think space may never be easy, no matter how advanced we get technologically. But they are certainly very good at what they do, and that is a remarkable number to have achieved there. And the ISS isn't coming down anytime soon, so that number is just going to continue to grow. Much farther afield, also this week in space news, scientists are using the Chandra X-ray Observatory to try to track a moving supermassive black hole. Supermassive black holes are generally stationary objects sitting at the centers of most galaxies. However, using data from NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory and other telescopes, astronomers recently hunted down what could be a supermassive black hole that may be on the move. So this black hole is about 9.3 billion light years from Earth, so certainly no threat to us here right now. But they believe it is possible that two smaller supermassive black holes collided and merged into a larger one. This is an event, basically the same kind of event that allowed us to finally detect gravitational waves recently. And they believe that depending on the exact size and spin of each black hole, the newly formed black hole could have received a kick in the opposite direction of the stronger gravitational waves that resulted. So it possibly could have pushed the black hole out of its galaxy's center and sent it on the move. So they're going to continue to collect data to see if they can tell which way it's moving. If it's moving at all, and using that data, they can sort of backtrack the math in reverse to learn more about the collision that would have formed this black hole and the resulting gravitational waves. So there you go, two items, near space and far space this week on the news of the moment. And we return this week for the third and, for now, final installment on longevity. This week, the implications of living longer for society as a whole, and also some of the criticisms of this research. For all the potential benefits, both short and long term, that longevity research could bring, it is not without its critics and potential downsides. There are questions of the validity of some research, and some are concerned about issues like use of our already limited resources. There are broad implications for each of us as individuals and for society as a whole. First, the notion that all the things I talked about in the last two shows are too sci-fi, too speculative, too unlikely to work to be pursued. While it is true that many of the avenues of research won't pan out, I think it is far too pessimistic to say that none of it is worth pursuing. That could be said of many past research breakthroughs, and through the research, though the research is on the very edge of science, it is still worth pursuing. Some of the research supported by Aubrey de Grey was widely criticized by certain people, and someone actually put up some money for these people to prove that his research avenues were completely nonsensical. Sort of like they were implying. I don't know if they were implying, but criticizing it as if there was no possible way that some thing could work or another could work. Ultimately, this challenge amounted to nothing. The people who were somehow put in charge of deciding if it was proved or disproved decided that nobody won. So ultimately, it concluded that Aubrey de Grey's research, although speculative and not currently producing tangible results of some kind, was not so far off the rails that it would be impossible. There are some things I think that aren't supported by science, like Ray Kurzweil's megadoses of vitamins, but let's let the science play out. Don't fall for the nirvana fallacy or perfect solution fallacy, that if something isn't 100% perfect or effective, it shouldn't be done. Figuring out what can extend an already long human life will take time to study. This is not, we're not talking about like a perpetual motion machine to generate energy that violates the laws of physics or something like that. This is right out at the edge of what we can know about the human body. There is also concern over gene patents, something that has come up with Craig Venter's work. It was a big deal at the time, but I think the scientific community is trying to sort out the ownership of the work they do versus the public interest in what would be of the greatest benefit. Recent court rulings have set the standard for now that existing, i.e., nature evolved DNA is not patentable, but lab manipulated DNA is. I do think more openness might develop in the wake of recent attacks on science and funding, and with the open sourcing of information such as Tesla has done with its patents. There are some people who actually prefer the belief that we are meant to die. There may be many reasons, I suspect most of them religious, but I can't agree. There is too much in this life to experience, too much to do, too much for us to just be the animals that we are. Be born, grow, procreate, die. There's so much more to life, and I would love to live long enough to have no regrets for something I did not do. I love to travel, and I would really like to see everything. I mean everything, every national park, every ocean, every mountain range. That alone would take many lifetimes. And this research is not strictly in the pursuit of living forever, or some desperate need by de Grey and others to keep going to fill their egos. It is also about living better as we live longer, and that's what medicine has always been about. We treat cancer after the diagnosis now. Why not head it off before it gets started? What if we can eventually prevent the genetic failures that lead to disease? We will then live longer, just like we started living longer when we developed the germ theory or created insulin for diabetics. What if we never live forever or even max out around an average of 95 or so, but the day before you drop, you are still in good health, enough to read a book or walk a 5K charity event? And if in the process of treating the fundamental genetic causes of diseases that we are much more prone to as we age, we may also benefit others who are not older. Treating the diseases of an 80-year-old might also lead to treatments for childhood diseases. Better understanding of any disease and novel treatments will also likely play a large role in helping humans become an interplanetary and interstellar species. One criticism some have, and I share, is the issue of access. It is true now that the wealthy live longer than the poor, and this is in part because they have easier access to healthcare and higher quality food. The inequality that we are dealing with now will only get worse if the rich are the only people who have access to longevity treatments, and this extends to the rest of the world. In my own head, when I say rich, I mean the 1% of America and much of the Western world, but I must remind myself that just by being born in the United States, I am among the top percent of the world as a whole. We need to do better to get the current medical advancements to the whole world, and that attitude should be carried further forward to any future medical breakthroughs. Living longer will also force us to change how we view work, jobs, career, and the economy. Living healthier longer probably means a later retirement age. That puts fewer jobs on the market for younger workers. Or the younger workers will get the jobs and older people will deal with worsening ageism. All this will be happening while we are also competing against robots for jobs. But this isn't strictly a problem of longevity. Growing population, more automation, and depleted resources are heading for a crisis already. The ideal solution is to have a world that doesn't need jobs, doesn't need humans to do the work. If we can adjust society away from the notion that your worth is only what you do for work, that you can only be a valuable member of society if you work, and that you can only learn to be a good human being through work, then retiring at 50 and living well to 100 will be great. We should start changing now before it's a crisis, but humans are not very good at that. It is also true that the longer people live, the more resources we use. The current global average is 360,000 births and 150,000 deaths each day. Yes, every day. So even now, the birth rate is more than double the death rate, and the population size is still a major concern. If that death rate continues to drop, the problems caused by large and overcrowded populations will get worse. However, it is also true that the more education you get, the fewer children you tend to have, and this is especially true of women. So support education all over the world. Still, though I don't know what the tipping point would be, I would like to see society shift thinking to be more aware of the impacts of population, to decide to have fewer children, rather than to have it forced on them by government or by disaster or crisis. Estimates project that global population will continue to grow for some time, and I think whether this is general growth or the effect of living longer, continued development of high-tech manufacturing, recycling, and farming will be essential for supporting the population. Still, much of the history of science, especially medical science, is made by people making life better for their fellow humans. Progress never goes in a straight line, and there are many dead ends along the way. Longevity research is one of the new cutting-edge methods of exploring medicine in the pursuit of making our lives better. Whether this leads to longer lives or simply healthier lives, it will continue to influence medical research on Earth and beyond. And that's the show for this week. As always, thank you for joining me, and also, as always, you can go to the website panfuture.org to see the show notes, see the links to things that I talked about, and send me a message or do whatever you would like to do. Find the Twitter and the Facebook page stuff. I do post a lot on Twitter. That's the more active social media thing that I do. So come to the website, panfuture.org. You can make a donation if you would like to support the show as well. There's a PayPal button there on the page. So come visit and say hello. Hello, hello. And I will talk to you again in the future.